forgot what I usually say at the start of this episode. Oh my god, my brain just went entirely blank.
You're like, "I've never done
Woo!
a podcast
All
before."
right. Hello, friends, and welcome back to Ghouls Night In, the spooky chat show with your best ghoul friends. I'm Penny Snark.
And I'm Midge Munster. And Penny, it is summertime, which I think you and I both find to be miserable at
Yeah.
best.
Yes, indeed.
Don't you ever just wish that a half man, half fish would come scoop you up and take you for a nice cool dip in a lagoon?
Oh, every day.
I find myself just sitting around dreaming about that, and that's
Maybe I could be wearing like a cute white swimsuit.
yeah, like a really cute little suit and just in a little boat. Well, that's right, folks. It is time once again for Monsters with Midge.
Woo!
It is the 70th anniversary this year of Universal Pictures' horror classic Creature from the Black Lagoon. So today I want to chat a bit about its significance in the horror canon. Now, Penny, is this one that you have seen? I know you are pretty up to date on all the classic horrors.
I have not actually seen this one.
Oh
Like
my god!
I'm very familiar, obviously,
Right.
with the iconic imagery, but I
Yeah.
have not watched the film itself.
Okay. I love that. I love that. I hope that if you listened to last week's episode, Penny
Hmm.
brought me to media I have not viewed. So I feel like we're gonna get to do like a swap-a-rooney here and
Yes.
touch base with each other. So, one thing we visited pretty frequently on this podcast is the 1950s horror boom that happened in America. One of my favorite things to chat about. And that was, of course, due to a few factors. First of which being that the 1940s into the 50s saw significant advancements in special effects and film technology, making it just easier to create convincing and terrifying monsters on screen.
Mhm.
But also, there were. This is a fun, just like thing to think about. I love we're in a post-war baby boom,
Yeah.
and so the consumer population becomes teenagers. There's a crap load of teenagers, and they become the target demographic for film marketing. And historically, teenagers love to watch a spooky movie. But that wasn't the only effect that the war had on the cinemascape. We are dealing with a lot of obviously post war anxiety in the aftermath of World War II, and that creates this perfect breeding ground for horror stories, and Creature from the Black Lagoon becomes a prime example of this. So, Creature hits like a sweet spot for me because I love the monster craze of
Hmm.
the mid century, but it also hits on this weird obsession that happened with island escapism.
Yeah.
um, and up to the mid 1940s, most of what we had seen in the area of monster adaptations were from Gothic literature, like
Hmm.
Phantom of the Opera, Frankenstein, Dracula. But after World War II, we see, like I mentioned before, more of this fear of the unknown. And this makes it really interesting to see just a different scape of monsters than we've seen
Yeah.
before. And I feel like Creature is the poster child for
Mhm.
this movement. So the U.S. involvement in the Pacific theater of World War II had exposed hundreds of thousands of young men to Asian and Pacific Islander cultures for the very first time. And of course, war is a breeding ground for fear and
Mhm.
misunderstanding. But a lot of these people also came back with a fascination with things they had never seen before. And so the fear and fascination combined is where Creature kind of finds his footing. But the idea for the film actually came to producer William Holland about 10 years prior to that at a dinner party at Orson Welles' house.
Ooh, now that's a
um,
dinner party I'd like to
I
go to.
know. They were at a dinner party for the cast and crew of Citizen Kane. And while he was in conversation with Mexican cinematographer Gabriel Figueroa, Aland learned about the myth of a race of half fish, half human creatures in the Amazon River. And he jotted down this story and kind of made notes for a film that he titled, quote, The Sea Monster.
Mm.
Not a very compelling,
Straightforward.
not a very compelling title, but I mean, also up to this point, it's been just very like Dracula,
Yeah. This
Frankenstein.
is what's in this movie.
Right. So I guess, yeah, in that sense, it makes sense. Just be like sea monster. It's giving those like early 2000s sci-fi channel horror movies that were just like Yeti,
Right.
troll.
Monster shark.
Yeah. So then, like I said, it's been about 10 years. In 1953, this actually gets picked up to start working for a script for the film. And Jack Arnold is hired as the director. Another little fun tidbit I want to throw in here. Like I mentioned, this is a time where a lot of innovation is happening in filmmaking. And right around 1952 and 3, there is like this absolute craze for 3D movie making.
Mm,
Um, because they had developed new technology and everybody's like, gotta make our movies in 3D. And because of the success of 1953's House of Wax, they were trying to quickly capitalize on the craze and get Creature out in 3D. Even though by the end of 1953, this was tapering off. It was
yeah.
not, but they're like, get it out there quick
Yeah.
in
Do it.
3D while there's still time. It's a. Do you remember? Well, I guess I would have been in high school. It was like when Disney came out with Real D,
Oh, yeah.
and everything for like 5 or 6 years was in like Disney IMAX Real
Yeah.
D.
And we were like, what? What does this mean?
I remember they'd have the receptacles to like put your glasses
Yeah.
in, and all my friends and I wouldn't put the glasses back, and we'd punch the lenses out and wear them like unironically
Oh,
to
so
school.
cool. So hip.
Yeah, we were pretty cool.
Can I tell you one unrelated 3D story?
Absolutely, I wish you would.
So just now recently, I went to see the re-release of Midsommar on the
Mm,
Solstice in IMAX,
they
and
did it in 3D.
we get there, and the guy hands us 3D glasses, and we were like, "What? What? What?" And I was like, "It didn't say it was in 3D." I'm like, "Why would it? Why would it be in
Why would
3D?
it? Yeah.
This is the weirdest thing I've ever heard." And so we go into the theater, and we're sitting there being like, "God, I hope this movie's not in 3D." And a like manager came in and was just like, "Everybody, we have someone new working the
Oh my
front. This film will
god.
not be in 3D." And
I'm just
everyone was like,
picturing like the cliff scene in
I
3D. Like,
know.
absolutely
It
not.
was just such a goofy thing to imagine. That's what I was like, ah yes, Midsommar in 3D, just as Ari Aster intended.
It just ended. Oh my god,
Anyway,
that's
that's all.
hilarious. That's okay. That's a great segue because we're about to talk a little bit about 3D anyway.
All right.
Because while Midsommar is in beautiful color, as we all know, Creature from the Black Lagoon was shot in black and white film.
Indeed.
So you might be asking yourself, well, how do you do a 3D
Oh yeah.
black and white film? Because I think most of us, we think of 3D, we think of like, well, not obviously now it's very fancy, but
Yes.
when in Penny and I's days of youth, they used anaglyph 3D, the like red and blue
Hmm.
lines around the images to create that effect. Which, sidebar, as someone born blind in my left eye, that was always the bane of my freaking existence. Because some movies they would like only release in 3D,
Yeah.
and my eye wouldn't register the red side of the glasses, so I could just see the red lines and the like
Ugh.
fuzziness no matter what. That anyway, that's a sidebar, but F you anaglyph 3D.
Thumbs down.
Thumbs down. So before that, though, they used a polarized light 3D method. So two projectors would display the images at different polarization angles, and then audience members' glasses would have corresponding polarized lenses that filtered the images in different ways, allowing like basically each eye to only see one
Hmm.
way of the image, and that would create a 3D effect. It is actually great because that allows for like a much higher image quality in the actual film itself, and it doesn't distort when you like turn your head or move around. Does this sound familiar, Penny?
A little bit.
It's Disney Real D!
It's Disney Real D.
It's the same system!
God damn
Don't
it,
it
Disney.
don't reinvent the wheel, 1980s
You
anaglyph
guys were
3D.
doing that back in
They were
back in
doing it.
creature days.
They were doing it in the creature days. Uh so yeah, it's the same system. It's polarized 3D.
Huh.
Very 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 cool that we have returned to
Right,
the
come back
past.
around. We were like, actually,
Back
that
to the
red and blue
future.
shit was dumb. Why do we do that?
And so transition, since we're talking about Disney, let's talk about the design of the creature, the
Mm.
Gillman himself. The person who made the approved final Gillman design was a Disney animator named Millicent Patrick.
Yay.
So she researched prehistoric fish for the design and based the Gillman off of a lobe-finned coelacanth.
Ooh.
Very interesting little fish that kind of looks like it has little like legs sticking out under it. Believed to be kind of the predecessor to land vertebrates.
All right.
But this was a huge deal because it was the first major creature feature monster that was designed by a woman.
Hell yeah.
Unfortunately, though, it was the 50s.
Bye.
So, for over half a century, her role was basically erased from this film. It was deliberately downplayed by the makeup artist Bud Westmore of the Westmore makeup family. So, he took public credit for the creature's conception and received like the sole praise for this for years.
Boo.
And it's really a bummer because uh, there are so many photographs of which now, of course, we can see of Millicent like with her sketches with the
Mm-hmm.
creature mask, like on set, helping like paint the suit and get the dimensions in it right. Like she was very hands on with this entire process from start to finish, and it was like it was her baby.
Yeah.
um, but she is getting her credit now, which is very exciting. The creature's suit itself was very heavy. It's made out of a foam rubber. I watched a couple interviews with the actors, correct, actors who played Creature.
Oh.
We'll get into that in a second. But they would basically suit them into like a body leotard, like a morph suit,
Mm-hmm.
and then individually glue on each piece of Creature's body.
Ooh.
And like Ben Chapman was saying that like sometimes the glue would seep through the leotard and like solidify, like stick to their body or
Yeah.
burn their skin. um and it was not flexible because it's this heavy foam rubber,
Yeah.
so it didn't allow for them to sit at all either. So sometimes they were spending 14 hours a day inside a suit, not being able to sit. It's also extremely hot because it's a foam rubber suit.
Yes.
Um, and because of that, the actors had to be like hosed down frequently throughout the day to keep from overheating, which I guess is good. He's a
Yeah.
water monster, so it's fine. Uh, so like I said, there are two actors that played Creature. Ben Chapman is the actor who played him in all of the land scenes.
Mm-hmm.
But the most impressive work to me in this film is done by Rico Browning, who plays Gillman in all the underwater shots. And he was a professional diver, swimmer.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he also was part of the like U.S. Army swim team and
Ooh.
did like all these swim stunts. I don't know. He was the right man for the job for
That's
sure.
great. I feel like the 50s love and that time loved like swimming stunts and stuff. Like I
Oh
just
yeah,
think about like Esther Williams and stuff. Like swimming things were very popular.
yes, and he had like experience. Basically, he was like a person who they used to film short water stunt videos that would be shown like in movie theaters
Mhm.
as part of film screenings, but like not for the films themselves.
Yeah, just, like, as a bonus, or,
Just
like,
like,
"Here's a cool
wow,
stunt."
look at this crazy water guy. Um, so he was definitely qualified. Uh, just, I mean, every time I watch this film, I'm like, wow, I can't even imagine how difficult that must have been. Cause like
Yeah.
that suit again is very heavy and very stiff. And he's swimming for long periods of time. It was reported that he was able to hold his breath for up to 4 minutes at a time
Jeezy crazy.
if he was stagnant in the water, which a lot
Okay.
of once when you see this, a lot of these shots of Creature are just him kind of like lurking in
Yeah.
beds of weed and things. Um, but he did say in a 2013 interview that he could do up to 2 minutes if he was swimming or fighting, which I still think is incredibly
Yeah.
impressive.
I'm
Uh,
very impressed.
Especially again when you think of the weight of the suit in the water alone, just like sustaining that, I think it
Yeah.
would be really hard to breathe. uh, this is also just an impressive film for like the fact that it was shot underwater. I would
Yeah.
say over like I would say 50% of this film's shots are underwater
Oh,
shots.
wow.
And it's really really beautiful. Some of my absolute favorite parts of this film are so our leading lady, the character Kay, she in her beautiful white bathing suit.
Yes.
She is swimming like atop the lagoon, and they have these shots shot from underneath her where Creature is swimming face up, so he's facing her and
Oh.
like mimicking her movements underwater, and it's all just underscored with music because obviously there's
Yeah.
a large amount of this film has no dialogue because there's so
Yeah, makes
many
sense.
underwater shots. And it's just like it's almost like watching ballet. It's really really beautiful. While we're on that vein, I do have to take a minute and talk about the music. um Creature has a theme, and I guess the executives like had control over the like full use of the score in this
Mhm.
film, and so they hired the composers to do the theme, and then they were like, we want the theme to play every single time you see
Oh,
Creature,
no.
which throughout the film is about 100 times. And it's this like a blasty fluttery horn moment. It's really abrasive, and it honestly is like it becomes camp because
Yeah.
every time you see like his fin or his like little top of his head, it's like "Meh." Just very
Just a subtle blast to let you know creatures nearby.
very, very silly goofy. It's a really ridiculous use of scoring, but it's very fun. It definitely builds the like emotional impact. So, Creature from the Black Lagoon premiered in Detroit on February 12th, 1954. It's a Valentine's Day film. Came out
Just like
Valentine
Silence
weekend.
of the Lambs, our
Exactly.
favorite Valentine's movies.
All of the best Valentine's films are about a just a weird little guy and the
Yeah,
woman he's obsessed with.
exactly. What could be more romantic than that?
Nothing. And how he wants to maybe eat her? Question mark.
Question mark. He's not sure. He'll
He's
make a game time decision.
he's really not sure. Creature's not sure either what he wants. But because of the beautiful visuals and unique filming of this movie, it was an instant success. It grossed over $1 million at the
Wow.
box office, which again, 1954.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money in this. I mean, it's a lot. It's still a lot of money, but
Yeah.
especially
For a
then,
movie.
yeah,
That's a lot of money for a movie in the 50s.
right. So this is often considered kind of the last of the Universal monster movies,
Mhm.
even though they do continue to make monster movies. And Creature did, because of the success of the first film, get a like immediate sequel put into
Mhm.
production. But this is the last time we really see um what am I trying to say, like a hype of a monster at this level from
Yeah.
Universal. He's the last of the greats.
Yeah. Last
um,
flagship monster.
yes, exactly. There have been multiple attempts to make remakes or reboots of Creature over the last 70
Mhm.
years, but none of them have ever come to fruition. There was a John Carpenter remake in 1992 in development, but never got the green
Hmm.
light. And then there was also an attempt made in the early 2000s due to the financial success of a certain Brendan Fraser movie,
Mm.
the Mummy. They were like, well, hot damn, we should be making monster movies again. And they attempted to mount this with a certain director that we both love attached to this project. Penny, do you know who that might be?
Hmm. Guillermo del Toro?
It is Guillermo del Toro.
Hey.
And he was really hoping to have this film focus on the creature's viewpoint
Mhm.
and give him success in his romantic longings for Kay. But the studio was like, we don't like that. That's not what we're going for. So, much like another rejected concept that became Crimson Peak, this rejected concept ended up becoming the 2017 film The Shape of Water,
Hell yeah.
which is one of the only creature adaptations we really have out there. I have actually not seen Shape of Water. It's kind of
Oh, it's good.
I know, and it's do you have those pieces of media that are like in your back pocket for a rainy day
Yep, I
when
I
you're
will say that The Shape of Water was actually that for me, like, I
for a
was
long time?
incredibly interested in seeing it, and then I didn't end up getting to see it in theaters, and then I
Mhm.
just was like, "I'm just gonna wait until the moment is right,"
And
but
it's yeah, and
the moment has come for me, and it was
it's
great,
so
so
stupid. I'm like, well, when it finally comes, I'm gonna have to like light every candle.
Yep.
I have to cook a 5-course meal and sit myself down in a ball gown made of scales.
Yes.
uh, so I do need to watch it. I've actually you can't find it anywhere. Like it doesn't stream. It's you can't even like rent it on Prime.
Oh, that's not
Um,
cool. It was on Hulu when I watched it.
okay, so
So,
right now it's in
hopefully it
a
pops back up again.
well, and that happened with, Bram Stoker's Dracula for a long time,
Mhm.
you couldn't get it anywhere, and then I just noticed it's on Netflix
It
again or
is.
no, Pri it's
It's on
included with
Prime, I
Prime
think, yeah.
right now, but you don't have to rent it, it's, like, included now.
Mhm.
So I'm sure it'll make its way back around. I have been every time I've been at Vintage Stock in the last, like, 6 months, I've been looking for a copy of The Shape of Water, so hopefully the time is nigh.
Mm.
One of my other favorite little side Gillman appearances was in The Munsters. He appears as Uncle Gilbert in one episode in season one. So, the rumors are true. I am related to Creature from the
Really?
Black
Gilman.
Lagoon. He is a monster. Uh, but I do think this is one of my favorite films because there aren't really a lot of adaptations,
Yeah.
which make the original just so much more special. I also think it's so great because Creature is such a sympathetic character. Much like Frankenstein's monster, he is just the victim of his
Yeah.
circumstances. He didn't seek out to hurt these people. And you find yourself rooting for him throughout the film because this is one of those movies where white people fuck around and then do indeed find out.
Truly.
uh, I th- there I would love to see though. I know I said I love that there aren't really reboots of this, but I do think it would be really interesting to see this re-examined through today's lens
Yeah.
because they're which granted maybe Shape of Water addresses this some, but I'd love to see it with like the original plot line
Yeah.
addressed because there's so much subject matter here about like people wanting to control nature, wanting to take things that are not theirs, wanting to kill something they don't understand.
Yeah.
Very very prevalent themes that I feel like could be re-examined in a 2024 lens. And I think that's why this movie has had so much staying power as well, is because it is fun and campy and beautiful, but it's also full of subtext and issues that are still really relevant today. So, if you, like Penny, have never seen this film, it is a great time of year to watch it. It is the epitome of a hot ghoul summer
Ooh,
film.
yeah.
You can go take a little dip with Creature in the lagoon and report back to us. Let us know how you like it. And while you are in the business of telling us how you like stuff, why don't you go ahead and leave us a review wherever you listen to this podcast? We would love to hear from you. And I believe Penny has an Instagram DM review to share with us today.
I surely do. This review comes to us from Sierra, and she writes 5 stars, preferably drawn on an undead ex boyfriend in whipped cream. Hey there, ghouls. I have loved your show from the very first note of the spectacularly spooky theme music on the first ever episode. The aesthetics, the vibes are always absolutely perfect, and I joyfully tune in every week. This week, one of my coworkers asked about the origins of Halloween in America, and I straightened my
Hey!
back, cleared my throat, and welcomed her to my TED Talk, populated almost exclusively by facts from Ghouls Night In. Your podcast continues to be a favorite haunt for me and a refuge from the real life scaries. Listening to your show is like having chocolate cake for breakfast in the Owens house or sipping cider and listening to ghost stories with the Van Tassels, the perfect dose of something cozy and sweet. XOXO Sierra.
Oh, I love that.
I
Thank you.
know. Thank you, Sierra. I love the idea of us all having chocolate cake for breakfast in the
Yes.
Practical Magic House together.
I because she brought up the first episode and I wanted to mention that I went back for the first time
Mm-hmm.
in maybe ever and re-listened to our first episode the other day, and boy, how far we have come.
Sure. Oh my god.
I think I texted you though. I realized we didn't even say like our little intro
Yeah, you did. You
until like
told
the
me
fifth
that.
or sixth episode, and I was like, oh my gosh, wow.
I know, because I even remember that we had been like, should we have like a standard intro? And we were kind of like, let's just start saying things and
We're
we'll
like,
find it.
we'll find it. Yeah.
We'll find it. And we did find it. So
We sure did. That's yeah. Uh we've come so far. Well,
truly.
thank you so much for that review. You can leave us a review on Apple or always send us an Instagram DM or a Spotify comment. And if you'd like to keep up with the show, you can follow us on Instagram at Ghouls Night in Pod. And if you are looking for me, you can find me all over the web at Midge Munster.
And you can find me at Penny Snark.
And until next time,
Good.
goodbye.
Bye.